Ladies and gentlemen, January 27, designated by the United Nations as International Holocaust Memorial Day. Today we honor 6 million Jewish victims of the Holocaust and millions of other victims of Nazism. My name is Richard Mauw. I'm the chairman of the Holocaust Committee Gooise Meren. The aim of our committee is to keep the memory of the Holocaust alive among the people of the municipality of Gooise Meren, especially among school children. Since 2019, the Holocaust has been commemorated in our municipality, always with a link to a local event. Today, we pay attention to the Jewish family Pfeffer, who were hiding during the war here on the Vaartberg in Bussum. I would like to give the floor to the mayor of Gooise Meren, Han ter Heegden.
Ladies and gentlemen, warmly welcome to you on behalf of the City Council of Gooise Meren, Bussum, Naarden, Muiden, Muidenberg, and on behalf of also of the Council of Mayor and Aldermen. I welcome you to the annual Holocaust Memorial Day in Gooise Meren. This day commemorates worldwide, you said it already, the Holocaust in which approximately 6 million Jews died as a result of the genocide. In Naarden, Bussum, Muiden and Muidenberg, more than 1,400 Jewish fellow citizens were forced to leave their homes and over 600 never returned. And today marks the liberation of the infamous concentration camp of Auschwitz-Birkenau by the Russian Red Army on January 27th. It remains incomprehensible what the soldiers found when they reached the extermination camp. Just about 8,000 people remained. The rest of the survivors were sent on so-called death marches. The scale of the operation of the camp is unbelievable. And what always comes to mind is how did it come to this? What does the Holocaust say about humanity and us humans? In Amsterdam, plans arose for the construction of the Holocaust Memorial Monument with the 104,000 names of Dutch, Jews, Roma and Sinti victims of the Holocaust. The municipality of Gooise Meren was contacted in 2018 to make a financial contribution for this monument. And this resulted in the birth of the local Holocaust Committee Gooise Meren, which has been organizing this commemoration since 2019. The committee also develops other activities aimed at education and information, especially for the youth. As mayor of Gooise Meren, I'm particularly proud that we have a local committee. The committee has found for the story of the Pfeffers a special children's book that also comes to life with films and animation, is an original as it is valuable. A few months ago, Annette Betzabel and I visited the new Holocaust Memorial Monument designed by Daniel Liebeskind in Amsterdam. And I was impressed by the clean and the simple design and the strong message that it holds have a big impact on you and on me. It motivates me to stay vigilant and to say never again. We should learn from the history and we should never forget what happened. And today we remember the 600 fellow citizens of Gooise Meren. We will never forget and pass this message on to our children and grandchildren.
Thank you, Mayor. The righteous amongst the nations are honored by Yad Vashem, and the righteous are non-Jews who took great risks to save Jews during the Holocaust. Rescue took many forms, and the righteous came from different nations, religions, and walks of life. What they all had in common was that they protected their Jewish neighbor at a time when hostility and indifference prevailed. 5,700 Dutch people received an award from Yad Vashem as righteous amongst the nations, in Dutch, rechtvaardigen onder de volkeren. Because they have saved one or more Jews from deportation by the Nazis during the Second World War. For example, by having them go into hiding at their own home. In our municipality, Gooise Meren, many people have been recognized by Yad Vashem. I kindly invite you to go to the website of Yad Vashem and zoom in on Bussum, Naarden, Muiden and Muidenberg. And what you will see is that there are many stories of people in our municipality. Annette will now give you some more background on the book, the Pfeffer family, and on the people who were honored by Yad Vashem.
In het dorp Bussum, niet ver van Amsterdam, woonde aan de stationsweg de familie Pfeffer met hun 6 kinderen. Sarah Pfeffer en haar man Jonas runden samen een bloemenwinkel in de drukke stationsweg. Hun oudste zoon was Jaap, die een echte studiebol was en ooit dokter wilde worden. Het enige meisje van het stel was Rachel en haar grote hobby was accordeon spelen. Zoon Max had een grote droom van voetballertje in Bussum uit te groeien tot speler in het Nederlands elftal. Appie was niet zo dol op school. Hij speelde liever op straat met zijn vriendjes. Juda en Joop vonden het allermooist rennen door de velden rond het dorp.
A couple of years ago, we opened up the closet doors in the back of the synagogue, which had been closed for decades, and rediscovered dozens and dozens and boxes of archived documents, and those documents went on all throughout the war years. So we were very surprised. So what we did, we spread them out all over the tables and we started to read them, as it's called, diagonally, just, to see what have we got. We got many stories, and when I wrote this book, and I made the films that are in the book, I thought, oh, again, another Shoah story, another Holocaust story. But I feel that I have an obligation to the stories that lie there, to tell these stories anyway. But to give it a twist that shows the little lights, the little bright little pieces of light found in that pitch dark time. Amongst the dozens of papers that we found, there was a list with Jewish children staying at the regular schools all over the area. And there was one family and I saw 6 children there. Where were they during the war? 8 people in one room, more than 2 years long.
Max lag die nacht wakker. Hij stond op en ging bij het raam kijken. De straat lag er doodstil bij en door de wolken scheen wat maanlicht op het stille dorp. In de verte kon hij zelfs de toren van de kerk zien, die net op dat moment 10 uur sloeg. Ineens kreeg hij een beangstigende gedachte. Hij kon niet wachten tot de volgende dag en ging naast zijn vader op bed liggen. Papa, word wakker, ik moet je iets belangrijks vertellen. Toen was het ineens voorbij. De soldaten liepen de trap weer af. Sst, zei mama zacht. Nog niet opstaan. Ze kunnen nog terugkomen. Na een paar minuten klopte Annie op de geheime kastdeur. Ze konden er weer uit. De soldaten waren verdwenen, de vrachtwagen was weg. Nog zwaar ademend van de schrik kwam iedereen tevoorschijn. Max kon eindelijk hoesten. Papa klopte hem op zijn rug en toen hij weer gekalmeerd was, zei hij: wat een geluk dat jij bij het raam bent gaan staan. Ik wil er niet aan denken wat er anders zou zijn gebeurd.
Who were the ones who rescued the Pfeffer family? To begin with, it was Philip and Willy Beneker, and they hid them in their house, but there were more people staying there. A sister of Sarah Pfeffer was staying there with her husband, and the whole attic was already full, so there was not enough place. So they looked for a new place to stay. And then they came up to a house not far from the canal, in one of the big canals in Bussum. The bedroom there was the place where they were hiding for 2.5 years, nearly 2.5 years. What is interesting to see that Sarah Pfeffer, the mum, said that she was most proud of her children because they never had a fight during those years with each other. And one of the children told me, well, they made up for that after the war. In the house was the Makinje family, and there's Gerrit and Tjitske, and their 3 children, Annie, Tinus and Jan. And Annie was a good friend of Rachel Pfeffer. They went together to school. And you see the big cross there, and that's because Gerrit was a stonemason and he made gravestones in the backyard of the house. Here's Annie, and on the second picture you see Rachel as a young child and Annie and a bit younger at school together. So that's where they knew each other from, and that's how they ended up with the Makinje family. At some point the Makinjes, mainly the mother, Tjitske, really got very nervous about these 8 people staying in the house. And after the second raid, she had a nervous breakdown. And the family moved to the neighbor, Henk Bakker. He lived right next door. He wasn't only called Bakker, he was also a baker, which Bakker is in Dutch. On the next picture we can see Henk and his wife Pietje with their 4 children, no longer in Holland, but in Australia. There was a train derailed by the resistance in Bussum, and there was ammunition on board of that train. So they had to evacuate the whole area. So the family moved to another family. The family was called Snell. They lived there and they stayed there for the last couple of months. But the ones who played through the whole period a very important role were 3 people actually. The first one is Dr. Martens. He was the head of the Catholic hospital in Bussum, and he hid tens of children and grown-ups in the hospital as so-called patients. Another doctor, very instrumental in the saving of the Pfeffers, Dr. Jacob Boon, who was the head of the Protestant hospital, the Diakonessenziekenhuis. And he also saved a lot of people who were born in that hospital, saved their lives. And Dr. Boon and his wife were arrested at some point by the Germans and stayed in a very infamous prison in Scheveningen for months. And Dr. Boon even was there twice. And still, amazingly, he kept helping Jewish co-citizens from Bussum. Here is the Boon family. What's very interesting is that Mrs. Boon is Jewish. And because her husband was not Jewish, she managed to survive. But maybe even more instrumental was the following person. This was the very, very beloved Tante Fifi, Auntie Fifi. It was Leni van Bering, and her illegal name was Auntie Fifi. She came with food, she came with books, she came with ration cards. She came just to help them survive this depressing period of, fear and hunger and pain and illnesses. She was always there for them. And you can see she was doing a lot more because she was commemorated with the Medal of Honor of the Resistance in 1982. She got that medal because she helped dozens and dozens of people, not just Jews, but also people from the resistance. She was very instrumental in it. I'm just finding out more and more about her, and she was an amazing person. And I spoke to her granddaughter this also yesterday, and she said she was flamboyant, she was beautiful, she loved big hats, and she would always embarrass us by when she would shop with us, she would start singing in the middle of the shop or start dancing, and we hated that, but she was a great grandma. The family survived all that, and then what happened? Bussum was liberated by the Canadians, as I said, and through some very miraculous way, which you have to read the book if you want to find out, Rachel Pfeffer, one of the children, at the time of the liberation, she was 19 years old, she met a Jewish Canadian soldier, and they fell in love and they got married, first here in the old municipality of Bussum, and then in the synagogue in Bussum as well. And later on, Rachel moved to Canada, and the rest of the family followed soon after.
De dag van de bruiloft was aangebroken. Jurken waren genaaid van de prachtige stoffen die uit Canada waren opgestuurd. Papa verzorgde natuurlijk zelf de bloemen en boeketten. En van goede vrienden konden ze echte koetjes en paarden lenen. De jongens kregen allemaal een keurig pak aan en zelfs een vlinderstrikje. Shelley was een prachtige bruid en naast haar liep Annie, die bijna even trots was. Ze hoorde ontroerd hoe Shelley en Marty ja zeiden op de vraag of ze met elkaar wilden trouwen. En mama pinkte een traantje weg. Na afloop was er een groot feest waarvoor Sarah dagen in de keuken had staan koken en bakken. Max keek om zich heen naar alle blije gezichten en dacht: wat hebben we vaak geluk gehad. En wat waren er steeds geweldige mensen die niet bang waren om ons te helpen. Zonder al die beschermengeltjes was ons verhaal niet goed afgelopen. Niet lang nadat Shelley was getrouwd met Marty, vertrok de familie Pfeffer naar Toronto in Canada. En daar bouwden ze een nieuw leven op. Ook de jongens trouwden en er kwamen al snel kinderen. Elke verjaardag was een feest met heel veel ooms, tantes, neefjes en nichtjes. Sarah Pfeffer schreef een boek over de onderduik in Bussum en daarover werd een uitzending gemaakt in Amerika. In Hollywood keken de Pfeffers hun ogen uit. Shelley voelde zich net een filmster. Ook Annie en haar moeder waren er en natuurlijk tante Vivi. Hier gaan ze op weg naar de studio waar de opnamen werden gemaakt. Zelfs de kamer was nagebouwd. En hier zie je ze. De presentator Ralph Edwards, Joop, die nu in Canada Johnny heette, en Jaap die Jack werd. Shelley bleef Shelley en Meijer, die nu Max heette. Judah werd Joe en Abraham heette Alan. Op de voorste rij zitten tante Vivi, Sarah en Jonas. De Pfeffers bouwden hun leven weer op in hun nieuwe vaderland.
So they moved to Canada and they built up their life, a new life. And we have a message from Canada on those who helped the family survive.
The room was 12 feet long by 11 feet wide. It was bare, it was cold, but it was a refuge. The opening words of the book, Hidden for 1,000 Days, that my grandmother, Sarah Pfeffer, wrote to tell her story of how she, my grandfather, Jonas, my mother, Rachel, and her brothers, Jack, Alan, Max, Joe, and Johnny, survived in hiding for 2 years, 9.5 months in Bussum during World War II. Their story is clearly one of courage and resilience, certainly of my grandparents, my mother, and all of my uncles. Nevertheless, they could not have survived without the extraordinary courage, intelligence, and selflessness of those we are gathered here today to honor. Gerrit Makinya, who with his family provided the room in their attic and guarded the secret with their lives. Helena Maria van Weering, known as Auntie Fifi, provided the spiritual support, ration cards, and library books for the mental and physical well-being of the Pfeffers. Dr. Martens provided extraordinary medical assistance with house calls for the inevitable illnesses that occurred and with almost no tools at his disposal. Hendrik and Pietja Bakker provided scarce food and additional shelter, particularly during some harrowing raids by the Germans, and helped find the Snell family who took the Pfeffers in near the end of the war. Dr. Jacob Bohn, who protected my Uncle Alan in the Protestant hospital when there was a crisis and the children had to be dispersed. Hendrika Elizabeth Benneker and her son Philip Benneker provided logistical and transportation support, again, when members of the family had to be moved. Tobias and Katriana Schnell, who also courageously and gracefully provided shelter towards the end of the war. The Pfeffers suffered tremendously during their period in hiding: lack of access to fresh air, small crowded space for 8 people, starvation, acute illnesses, loneliness, constant fear of discovery and death, separation and depression. Yet all of these privations were endured with dignity and the constant support of those truly remarkable individuals. After the war ended, my mother, Rachel, married my father, Martin Stern, a Canadian soldier in Bussum, and they became the catalyst to help all the Veffers emigrate to Toronto, Canada. The 6 Veffer children produced 15 grandchildren, 27 great-grandchildren, and 29 great-great-grandchildren living all over North America and Israel. On behalf of the very large and grateful family, we say thank you. My grandmother concludes her story with, many families hid from the Germans in Holland, but few came through alive. No other family of 8 remained alive to tell the tale in circumstances such as ours. So there is a difference from the usual war story in this our own tale. Yes, there is a difference, a happy ending. That is the difference.
That's the difference. They survived. They moved to Canada, but even after the war, they came back to Holland several times. And this is a unique photo. There is Auntie Fifi at the piano. Shelley is at the back with her husband Marty. Then Annie is in the middle. And the oldest son of Shelley, Hartley, with his wife Dorothy, expecting the first child. So these are 3 generations Veffer, with Vivi and Annie, who saved them. Amazing. This picture was taken in 1981. So, I read the book by Sarah, Hidden for 1,000 Days. I translated it to Dutch, and I would like to publish that. But before that, I thought it's more important to tell the story to the children of the age of the Veffer kids. So, Noam and Yael, would you please come here? First 2 books of the Veffer, so I'll come here. I don't know, can Emma still in the picture? Can you turn around? Okay, so, Yael. Come. Look, here's the book. So that's the first one for you, and this one is for you. And I hope maybe you're a bit too small to read it yet, but I hope when you'll be a bit bigger, you'll read it. And of course for you, as a football player, of course, back picture. I just want to say that the book is going to be on sale, but all the revenues are going to be for the committee to finance further projects in this age and day that it's very important to see this history as it was and not to use it for political usage. We read a lot about Anne Frank, true, but this family was hidden and was not betrayed by anyone. The whole neighborhood knew about it, the whole Makinje family knew about it, including the children, and they didn't open their mouths. And that's the biggest amazing thing that happened, and what we call the miracle of Dussen.
We would like to end this meeting together with the mayor. We will go to the memorial place here in the town hall where we have hold a minute of silence.